The following video is part of a series on kipping handstand push-ups. It's very important to understand that kipping handstand push-ups are not the best way to do handstand push-ups, as in they're not the safest way. Strict is always best. If you do not have the strength to be able to do strict handstand push-ups, it's highly recommended that you work on your strength. That being said, when you are kipping or doing handstand push-ups without kipping, you are putting a lot of pressure on your cervical spine. Your cervical spine is between your head and your body, and it contains the smallest vertebrae in your body. Inside those small vertebrae are very important things that you do not want to mess up, needless to say. Please take extreme caution when performing your handstand push-up skills, whether they are kipping or strict. Always rely on strength the most and not kipping. When you are doing these kipping handstand push-ups, it's very important to work on your technique. Your technique can make or literally break you in a workout or while you're training. Please follow these steps very carefully and use extreme caution when doing your handstand push-up sets as to not injure yourself semi-permanently or even permanently. Part one of the kipping handstand push-up is actually two parts. We need to make sure, A, you can do a headstand properly and correctly, and we need to make sure that you can kick up to the wall in a handstand. Clearly, this is going to be essential for all handstand push-ups. If you cannot get upside down against the wall, the likelihood of you being able to get upside down in a workout is very slim. Don't necessarily try this in a workout, getting upside down for your first time when you don't know how to get upside down outside of a workout. Moving on. Headstand hold is going to be the prime part of the kipping handstand push-up. The reason is that the kipping starts from the lowest point of the movement. The lowest point of a handstand push-up is the headstand. We're gonna start there. If you can't do a headstand comfortably or carefully, then please practice the headstand alone before moving on to any other part of the kipping handstand push-up progression. The way I like to have people start is by kneeling near the wall. They're going to put their head about this far from the wall, which is approximately the width of my butt. By putting my head that far away, it allows my backside to sit up against the wall. We will be using the wall for stability. We are not going to be going straight up to a freestanding headstand. Why? Well, when we're doing handstand push-ups, we use the wall as support to prepare for the kip upward. We want to mimic this position by placing our bum against the wall. So I'm gonna put my head about this far away on the floor, and I'm also going to place my hands in front of my face just slightly so peripherally I can see my hands. Top of the head, the very crown of the head goes on the floor. That would be the part of the head. If you were carrying a load heavily, it would be sitting here. You wouldn't do a headstand on your forehead as you wouldn't carry weight on your forehead. Now that I'm upside down, my hands are planted, I can see straight across the room. I am not staring at the floor, nor am I staring at my belly button. From here, I'm going to bring my feet in and just a little hop. Bigger hop, and then a bigger hop. Once I'm here, my bum is up against the wall. I can feel that my weight is on my head and my hands are planted firmly on the floor. The second step of part one is getting to a handstand against the wall. I need to be able to kick up to a handstand. The way that I recommend you do this is not by starting with your hands on the floor, but by standing. By standing here and going into the handstand in one movement, we are utilizing momentum to help get our lower body upside down. If you are one of these people that do not have this skill, practice going hands to the floor, pausing here, and then kicking as you are already comfortable to do that. And then let's lessen the amount of pause. Now I go here, pause less, kick up, and eventually we want less pause to be able to go right into this. And the third piece to part one of the kipping handstand push-up is we want to make sure our hands and our head are in the correct positions. So I'm going to check my headstand position. This is where we already figured out how to get upside down, and see where my hands are. This is also where I'm going to place my hands when I go from the standing position. I'm going to look, step up, hands in the same spot, and kick up. This will ensure that the position that I have my hands comfortably in the headstand is also the same position that I kick up with. That'll help me avoid kicking up and making some sort of adjustments. Adjustments waste energy and time. Part 2 of the kipping handstand push-up is we need to prove to ourselves and probably our coaches that we can successfully and safely perform a handstand push-up negative. We need to go from the full handstand position, lower ourselves down, and get our head to reach the floor without dropping. If you drop, that can create a lot of stress on the cervical spine, creating neck problems down the road or even immediately. I recommend, for good practice, you take about 4 or 5 seconds to go all the way down to the floor, set your head down softly, and come off the wall. Next, we want to do the handstand push-up negative with more speed and then bring our legs down to absorb the shock. When we bring our legs from the tall position down to the upside down squatting position, we want to bring our knees close to our body and let our bum touch the wall. This should be smooth and slow at first, and then as you progress, we can start dropping with more speed, ensuring that we are still not creating a lot of impact on the neck and on the head. Part 3 of the kipping handstand push-up, we are going to get into the headstand position and into the loading position. That means that we're going to bring our legs down, and then I want you to watch from this angle something very specific. You're going to see my bum is on the wall, my butt cheeks are on the wall, but I'm going to bring my knees down as far as they can go, and you're going to see my bum rolls off the wall and my low back touches the wall. The reason why we're testing this is because we're going to check our distance of our head position and our hand position to the wall. What I should feel is my weight mostly being on my head while my bum is up against the wall and my knees are high. As I bring my knees lower, my body weight will shift away from the wall because my bum is coming off the wall, and I should feel a little more pressure on my hands. During a kipping handstand push-up, if you don't have enough energy to produce the whole set, but you want to try to do it unbroken, or maybe you're under a high level of fatigue at this point, you need to kip as hard as you can. When you're under fatigue and you're in the headstand position, what you don't want is all of the load being on your head. By bringing your knees down as far as we can and getting that low back against the wall, it's going to help distribute some of that body weight to your hands. From this position, kipping up will have a lot more range of motion in the legs, and that amount of range of motion for the kipping in the legs is opportunity to build up speed and momentum to do more work for your upper body. Basically, it's easier if you produce momentum, and this is how you would get more momentum out of your legs, by bringing them low. Now that I'm upside down, my hands are set, my bum is against the wall. I'm going to bring my knees down, and now I can see right now I don't have a lot of weight on my hands, but as my knees come down more, you can feel the weight shift off the wall, and now I have to push with my hands. It doesn't feel so comfortable picking my hands up. From this position, I can go back. I call these headstand kipping pulses. So we're just dropping and we're practicing this position. By reaching the bottom here and getting a little bit of butt wink, I will be able to kip with a lot of power up against gravity. What we want to avoid is having our head too close or too far away from the wall. So we're gonna look at the head position as an adjustment. We want to find that perfect spot where we're not too far or too close. I'm going to do a headstand that is too close to the wall. If my head is placed too close to the wall when I bring my legs down, it's going to pull me off the wall.
You can see I'm having to press with my arms quite hard. I can almost just push with my arms and take my head off the floor. This is going to be too close for the kipping handstand push-up, because if I kip from there, all my body weight being over my hands like this, I'm really likely to shoot myself off the wall instead of doing the handstand against the wall to finish the rep. Now, on the other hand, if my head is too far away from the wall, the amount of space between my head and the wall is going to create a deeper angle for my body lean. My bum will be up against the wall, my head will be here, and of course we want our hands out to the sides. So there's going to be less stability in this space here, and when I bring my knees down and my back rounds, it's gonna feel like I'm gonna collapse into the wall. That can feel a little bit uncomfortable with your neck, so please don't do this, but this is an example of the situation that I'm describing. Right here, when I bring my knees down, it feels like there's almost no pressure on my hands, and that the back of my head is folding up right here in my neck. I don't know if you can see it, but this is very uncomfortable, and it feels like my neck is getting squished into this position. This is unsafe. We don't want to kip from there. And if you do kip from there, because of how much body weight is leaning up against the wall, you're very likely that the first thing you feel as soon as you start kipping is your feet hit the wall. If they hit the wall before you're at full extension, then you will have to press up anyway. Might as well do a strict handstand push-up. Much safer and just as easy on the shoulders, maybe easier to do it strict. Part 4 of the kipping handstand push-up training is going to be learning to kip from the headstand position into a full handstand. This is now where we get to test if our head position or our legs are in the correct place when we kip. Additionally, now that we've kind of got our head position set, we want to adjust our hand position. To explain this, I want you to imagine my hands are far away from the wall. My hands are here. As soon as my head leaves the ground, my body is now supported by my hands. Because my hands are too far in front of me, it's very likely that even if my legs and my body were set in a good kipping position in the headstand, as soon as I leave the ground, the arms push me to the wall. I'm very likely to hit the wall too early. If my hands are too much out to the side, they are too close to the wall. When I kip up, it's quite likely that it will push me away from the wall. We want to find the happy medium, so we have a setting for both our hands and our head. I'm going to start by putting my head and my hands in the same position when I was doing the pulses. From this position, I'm going to bring my legs down and drive them up. Now, I don't want to push with my hands when I drive my legs up. It's when they reach their higher point and they have all the momentum that they will assist by pulling me up, making the work of my upper body much easier, which is the benefit of kipping in the handstand push-up. This feels about right. I checked my hand position, my head position. Now I'm going to bring my knees down so my low back touches the wall and kip. You can see because I had my hands too close to the wall, I fell away from the wall. To make this adjustment, there are two things I can do. I can A, try moving my hands further away from the wall. That makes good sense. But B, my knee position. If my knees are too close together when I bring them down in the headstand position, the distance of my knee to the wall is quite great. But by separating my knees, basically frogging my knees out to the side, I have more weight leaning toward the wall and less away from the wall. So in the headstand position, even the knee separation that you have can change the way that the handstand push-up goes up. Meaning this, knees together, will shoot me further away from the wall, and wider legs will bring me closer to the wall, just because of the weight distribution. But first, I'm going to try moving my hands slightly further away from the wall. I'm in the position, hands are far out, I bring down, I kip, and that felt pretty good. Now, just to show you the example, I can put my hands closer again, legs further out to the side, kip, and stay up against the wall. I do the same thing with my knees together, and it effectively pulls me off the wall. The goal is to reach full extension of the handstand at the moment your feet reach the wall. If I hit the wall early with my feet and my arms are still bent, I have to press against the friction of my feet against the wall plus the weight of my body. This is basically part strict handstand push-up. Here's an example of what we don't want. We also want to avoid the handstand hold because that's flirting with that vertical position that can pull us off the wall, but also any amount of arch past that will pull us off the wall. Plus, we're holding a handstand for way too long. We don't want to spend our energy doing a freestanding handstand when we've got other work to do. Here's what that would look like. Clearly, I'm going to be working too much if I'm up in the handstand position holding. Here's what we want in order to produce the most effective reps. You can see at the moment of full extension, my feet reach the wall, and that is going to limit the amount of time I'm staying upside down, holding a handstand, waiting for the next rep, and it also avoids the extra effort of hitting and pushing against the friction of your shoes against the wall. Make sure that you try to adjust these two settings and get familiar with it because it's going to impact all of your reps. In a workout, if you find that some of your reps are working and some are not, and your hand position is the same, play with the width of your knees at the bottom of your kip, and that will adjust the weight distribution closer or away from the wall. But now that I know where I want my head and my hands, it's time to make sure that I see it visually. I like to use chalk if it's okay with the gym, and I'm going to place my head and my hands in the position that I think that they should be in, and then make a mark with my hands to leave chalk marks. And there we go. I have my left hand, my right hand, and my head position right there. I want to make sure that I study these hand and head positions, and that way I can become familiar with how far away from the wall I like to place my hands in order to make it so comfortable that I never have to think about it when I go to do my handstand push-up set. Perfect. Now we know where our hands belong and where our head belongs. It's time to practice from the floor into the full handstand and dropping down to get my head in that target. It's very often that people come down and their head is too much toward their hands or it's too much toward the wall. We want to find that perfect spot. By practicing this and looking across the room, you will visually have an understanding of what it looks like when you're coming down into the handstand push-up. We know that our hands are going in the right spot because we're going to practice it from standing, but then when we come down, providing we keep checking to make sure the head is touching that correct spot, we will continue to do this, and then we will check so we can kip up and practice singles. Now that I see that my head is landing consistently in the same position, I'm good to go from the standing position into the handstand, come down, and practicing singles. I'm also going to keep aware of what's happening when I kip back up. If I hit the handstand and hold too long, I need to back up and think about the other drills that we did, the knee separation, the hand placement, whatever we need to change in order to get that full extension right when we hit the wall. Again, we don't want to hit the wall before we reach full extension, so make these adjustments accordingly. We're going to start into handstand push-up singles with the kip next. Practicing singles. We want to practice these singles from a standing position because getting upside down and putting our hands in the right spot the first time is a skill in its own and something that we need to get used to.
Furthermore, we want to make sure that we're hitting all the fine points that are necessary for a complete rep. That means that my hands hit the floor, my feet hit the wall together, and before I descend, I show complete lockout. You don't want to get upside down halfway into the descent of the handstand push-up before you start your first rep, because it won't count. So we're going to practice singles, and when we're practicing these singles, we're going to practice different range of motion with the kipping in the legs. So first, we're going to start nice and slow, and this is always how you should approach it. Start slow and then speed up as you go along. But we're going to set our hands down in the spot that we already decided is perfect. We're going to come down, touch our head, make sure it's in the same spot, butt up against the wall, knees down, and drive. Finish at the top by pushing your head through, and then come down. So once you're down out of the handstand push-up, review your work. If it was correct, good to go, and then we can carry on. Before we start doing different range of motions, we're going to get used to this process with that range of motion. We're going to kick up, pause less, come down, and back up, and we're going to try to do it in less time. Doing handstand push-up singles can actually be quite quick if you are in the middle of a workout. It can be quicker than trying to go as many reps as possible and then coming off the wall and waiting until you get your energy back. So keep in mind that not only is doing singles in this case going to help get you up and down consistently with one rep to make sure that you're doing it correctly, it can also be a tactic that you apply during the workout. Less time at the top, less time at the bottom, and then get off the wall. We continue this again to speed up faster and faster, and then we're going to change the range of motion. Now that we've got a couple reps at full range of motion, we're going to go about half. We're going to try to get used to the tempo because we do spend less time in the headstand position, and because the legs change direction a little bit faster, there could be a little bit more pressure on your neck. We need to be sure that we are preparing our body appropriately for this by continually building up and strengthening the neck, and then after your training, just kind of do a check-in and see how your neck is feeling at that point. If it starts to ache a bit, maybe lay off the amount of volume and how fast you kip, and build up that neck strength over time. Now, lesser range of motion, it's going to look here to about hip height instead of down here. So we're gonna go hip height, drive. And now we're going to continue to shorten the range of motion. So it's just a quick bend kick. This is going to be a lot of strict strength and only just a little bit of assistance from the legs, but we expect that because we're trying to do less time per rep. That means go faster. That means that we are going to use more energy just because of that fact. Just remember that strict is always great, and so we want to continue to work on that strict strength because strict is fast. The last step of the kipping handstand push-ups is to understand how much volume you can produce. Producing volume may depend from day to day. We need to understand that recovery is very important. But when you are fresh, how many reps can you do at what range of motion? What I would suggest is that you create yourself a chart. The chart can be 10 seconds, full range of motion, medium range of motion, shortest range of motion, and strict. By understanding how many reps you can produce in 10 seconds, you write that score underneath each one. Next, if you did all of those reps unbroken, you want to move to how many reps can you do in 15 seconds, and then 20 seconds, and then 25 and 30 seconds, and so on. You need to understand how much volume you can put out at what range of motion. When you go to work out in the WOD, you want to make sure that you look at the board and you understand today we are doing thrusters and we are doing ring muscle ups and handstand push-ups. So how much volume do I think I can do under this amount of stress?
If you look at the thrusters being as upper body dominant as it is, you're going to know that going to a fuller range of motion is going to be a slightly smarter move than going to a shorter range of motion. Create your own chart, and this chart should evolve over time. If you are training consistently your kipping handstand push-ups, your volume should go up. The amount of reps that you can do unbroken should go up. The amount of reps you can do in a certain amount of time should go up. With a certain range of motion, you will find that you have a rhythm. This is like the tick of a metronome. If I am doing a full range of motion and every 2.5 seconds I can produce 1 rep, but I'm moving consistently, then I can do the math and figure out 2.5 seconds per 1 rep is 5 for 2 reps, which is 4 for 10, which is 8 for 20 seconds. I know that in 20 seconds I can do 8 reps of full range of motion kipping handstand push-ups and utilize that to my benefit during the workout. So make a chart and practice this with volume. Start small and grow from there, and that way you can gauge how well you can maintain that volume with a certain amount of rest and create your gains from there.